Salute. All right, guys, we got breaking news, man. You know what I'm saying? They have most definitely identified uh the sus. Whoa, one more thing I gotta do before I even get started. Hold up, y'all. I should have already did this, but I do it right now. Oh well. Hold on. Too big a rest to go ahead and go live. Hold on, y'all. I got y'all coming right up. Give me a second. I should have already did this, but I'm gonna do it now. Hold up. Good thing I thought about it at the beginning of the show. So go ahead and get it out the way. Okay. Hold on. Hold up. Here I come. Hold up. All right, let's get to it, guys. My bad, man. My bad. Make sure you double tapping that screen. Most definitely get those likes up. Trump has most definitely addressed the situation that took place in D.C. yesterday. As well as the officials over there have basically did a press conference and basically released the name of the suspect and more, guys. A lot of people giving reactions. We got all that. Make sure you take time to double tap that screen. Most definitely get those likes up and subscribe to the channel if you're new, guys. Let's go.
Style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those two members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight, at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today. This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them, and may God bless and protect the United States of America. Thank you and good night.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
All
Hey,
right.
click here to subscribe.
So some quick words from Trump, guys. We found out that the alleged gunman is Afghanistan. Here with more updates, you know what I'm saying, are some of the Washington officials as well as Cash Patel of the FBI, guys.
And I am joined here by several individuals who represent agencies who have been working around the clock since this horrific event happened. To my left, we have the director of the FBI. We have General Leland Blanchard of the National Guard. Mayor Bowser is here as well. We have Frank Saldana of the DEA, Chris Hecht of DHS. Executive Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll of the MPD, Darren Cox of the Washington FBI Field Office, and a Special Agent in Charge, Samuel Ward of the ATF in Washington. Now, I want to provide you with an update on the tragic shooting that occurred on two brave members of the West Virginia National Guard as they served in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, today, as most families join together to give thanks for the blessings that have been bestowed upon them.
Hey guys, let's take time to hit that like button. Double tap that screen or click those three dots. Hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel. Also, subscribe to the channel if you are new, as the officials in Washington give us updates on that shooting that occurred yesterday, a block away from the White House, guys, where two National Guard troops were shot and basically are in critical condition, guys.
Two families are shattered and destroyed and torn apart as a result of the actions of one man. First and foremost, our hearts go out to the victims and their families. These are dedicated service members who were performing their duties in service to our nation, and they are currently in critical condition. They have undergone surgery. We pray for their well-being as they continue to be cared for in the best possible way. We have been in constant contact with their families and have provided them with every resource needed during this difficult time. The two National Guards men that we're talking about are Sarah Beckstrom, who's 20 years old, and Andrew Wolf, who is 24 years old. They were uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard, and they were in D.C. to keep D.C. safe, pursuant to President Trump's executive order to make D.C. safe and beautiful. They answered the call, they took the charge, they volunteered, they put their lives on the line for people they don't even know. And that, unfortunately, is becoming a reality more and more for the members of law enforcement. Yesterday on Thanksgiving Eve at approximately 2:15, near 17th and I Streets in the northwest section of the district, near the Farragut West Metro Station, two uniformed guardsmen were ambushed in a brazen and targeted attack. A lone gunman opened fire without provocation, ambush style, armed with a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. One guardsman is struck, goes down, and then the shooter leans over and strikes the guardsman again. Another guardsman is struck several times. Fellow guardsmen who were there responded immediately, engaging the suspect, neutralizing the threat, and subduing him at the scene. He was transported to a local hospital where he remains, as we speak, under heavy guard. Thanks to the swift and coordinated response of the National Guard and the Metropolitan Police Department, no additional victims were harmed and the scene was secured within minutes. The suspect, he has been identified as Ramanullah Lakanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan who entered the United States under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome, a program following the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. He resided in Bellingham, Washington with his wife and, we believe, 5 children. And we're working very closely with our federal partners, especially DHS and the FBI, to review his immigration history and the vetting process itself. What we know about him is that he drove his vehicle across country from the state of Washington with the intended target of coming.
Wow, guys, a Galvestonian native is responsible for this. He drove his vehicle cross country, guys, to commit this heinous act. Wow.
To our nation's capital. As we stand here today, the charges that are appropriate right now are 3 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed, a violation of DC Code 22-401 and DC Code 22-4502. He will also be charged with possession of a firearm during a crime of violence. He faces 15 years under the assault with the intent to kill. We intend to continue monitoring what the charges will be, depending upon the well-being of the guardsmen. We are praying that they survive and that the highest charge will not have to be murder in the first degree. But make no mistake, if they do not, that will certainly be the charge, murder in the first degree. The Department of Justice, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, is committed to a thorough and an impartial investigation where we will hold this perpetrator accountable under the full weight of the law. Now, Sarah and Andrew volunteered. They came here to protect the people of the district. Pursuant to a...
Hey, guys, let's take time to double tap that screen. If you're on a mobile device, double tap the screen. That's how you hit the like button, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel. Let's subscribe if we're new. Most definitely get those likes up, though. We got 1,000 people and 41 likes. Let's get the likes up. Double tap the screen of your mobile device, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys.
Crime emergency that President Trump rightly declared in this city and in other cities across the country. Our nation's capital should not and must not be a place where evil comes to commit violence, whatever their cause or motive may be. We should not have to live in fear in the nation's capital, especially by one who came here from a foreign country. Through a process that was so absurd that he came through and released into this country, as many were, knowing virtually nothing about his vetting. This is what happens in this country when people are allowed in who are not properly vetted. These guardsmen and all who are here to protect the district are the line that separates a civilized society from a barbaric one. They are the ones who stand for law and order. This was not just an attack, it was a direct challenge to law and order in our nation's capital. And the individual will be made fully accountable. And though it seems that we have been here before under President Trump, make no mistake, and the Attorney General, we will not allow this to be normalized. It will be confronted, condemned, and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Now, my message to the individual who committed these acts is you picked the wrong target, the wrong city, and the wrong country, and you will be sorry for the violence and the evil that you perpetrated in our nation's capital. And now I call upon the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thanks, Judge. I'll begin my remarks and end my remarks the same way, with prayer for our fallen soldiers, prayer for our law enforcement community, prayer for our National Guardsmen and women, prayer for our brave prosecutors at the Department of Justice and the offices of the D.C. United States Attorney. We must come together as a nation, especially on this Thanksgiving Day, and remember the sacrifices that so many are making around the world and around this country to secure our freedoms under President Trump's brilliant leadership and administration. I'll provide an update on the case as follows. It is an ongoing investigation of terrorism. Make no mistake about it. The FBI is leading out on this federal assault on a federal law enforcement officer investigation on many fronts. We immediately, with our law enforcement partners in the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, secured the scene, seized the weapon, sent in our evidence response team immediately to collect evidence, and started doing block-by-block canvasses. We are looking for and interviewing witnesses. The firearm and other materials have been sent to our Quantico laboratory already yesterday for immediate analysis. That work is ongoing. Partnering with the D.C. United States Attorney's Office, we have also executed multiple search warrants around the country, to include the subject's last known residence, which is in the state of Washington. The search warrant was executed on that house last night or early this morning, and it is an ongoing process. All the individuals found in the house have been interviewed, and some interviews remain ongoing. We will not stop until we interview anyone and everyone associated with the subject, the house, and every piece of his life. There's also subject interviews relations conducted in San Diego, pursuant to our ongoing investigation. So, as the judge noted, this is a coast-to-coast investigation being led right here in Washington, D.C., and this subject definitely did pick the wrong country. And we will rise together as a nation to show the world what we do here. And we are thankful that we have the Attorney General's brave leadership and President Trump's brave leadership and priorities to safeguard our communities. I also spoke to Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, last night, and Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. That is what a broad-based international terrorism investigation looks like. We will provide continuous details to the American public while at the same time not jeopardizing the ongoing prosecution to ultimately hold this perpetrator accountable in our courts of law. We will provide as much transparency as possible, but as you can see, the breadth and scope of this investigation will continue. We will continue to hit the streets and hit every town and every house and talk to every witness. The men and women of the FBI and the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, to include the Department of Homeland Security, DEA, and ATF, are working tirelessly on this Thanksgiving Day. And I know just by talking to the leaders behind me that instead of going on and being with their families, everyone rogered up and showed up to work today. And none of them want to go home. That's the resolve that we have together as a team to bring to you justice for this heinous act of terrorism here in our nation's capital. And as the judge said, we will ensure that our law enforcement partners are out there in full force to make sure the world can enjoy our nation's capital. We will not let this heinous act of violence prevent people from visiting our beautiful nation's capital. And we will also continue to highlight any evidence that we can publicly. And as the judge said, this individual is in this country for one reason and one reason alone, because of the disastrous withdrawal from the Biden administration and the failure to vet in any way, shape, or form, this individual and countless others. And this administration has taken the rightful step to stop any further allowance of people with this similar background into the country. And we're thankful for that. And as I said, this investigation remains ongoing. And I think I'll turn it over to General Blanchard of the National Guard now. Thank you.
Thank you, Director.
Sad, y'all. Continue to double tap that screen. Get those likes up. Or click those three dots.
All
hit the
across
thumbs
America
up.
this morning, families are waking up. They'll spend the day with their children, their brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, friends from across the community. There will be the smell of turkey, all the fixings. They'll watch parades, football games. They'll pray together. They'll talk about what they're grateful for. This morning, there are two families that will not have that opportunity.
Prayers for the
Andy and
families,
Sarah's
guys.
families, they're spending the day reflecting on the past. And in the days coming, they'll reflect on and think about what could have been, what might be. Because regardless of the outcome, we know that their lives, their families' lives are all changed forever. Because one person decided to do this horrific and evil thing. And all across America, we are also reminded that there are many law enforcement agents, first responders, soldiers, service members all around the world who at best will come home, eat some cold turkey,
Thank you, Libra.
open up Tupperware, eat what's left over, because they spent the day defending the American ideals, getting out there and getting after it on every American citizen's behalf. I will say that the District of Columbia National Guard, this task force, is more committed this morning to the President's directive to make D.C. safe and beautiful. Our resolve will be tested. It is being tested, but make no mistake, each and every one of these soldiers and airmen will meet and exceed the expectation that we have for them. They are, in fact, America's best. I'm proud of each and every one of them. I pray for each and every one of them today, and in particular, for these two young service members who are willing to go above and beyond and pay whatever price our nation asks of them. I ask every American today to keep them in their thoughts and prayers as you go about your day. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Mayor, where's Mayor Bowser? Yeah.
Thank you, Judge. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and I want to associate myself with the remarks of our Adjutant General from the D.C. National Guard. I want to be very clear what the judge and everyone has reported here. Somebody drove across the country, came to Washington, D.C. to attack America. And
We need more likes, guys. Double tap that screen. If you're on a mobile device, double tap your screen or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel, guys. As officials in Washington give us updates on this tragic situation that occurred yesterday involving a male and female National Guardsmen, man. This is sad, y'all. Prayers for the families, guys.
that person will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. These young people should be at home in West Virginia with their families.
Thank you, Libra.
ATF, anybody, DHS, anyone? Okay. I also want to say that both Sarah and Andrew, I believe, were sworn in less than 24 hours before they were shot on the street in Washington.
Wow.
Any
They
questions?
were rookies, guys.
Could you drill down on a possible motive? You got any information, any intelligence on a possible motive?
Thank you.
You know, as the
Angels.
directors indicated, this is a fluid investigation. People are working around the clock. It's too soon to say what the motive is, but there are definitely areas that we're looking into, but not ready to say.
Can you characterize a little bit about how the assailant was taken down after he opened fire?
Yeah, he got shot
By another guard?
by another guardsman, yeah.
You mentioned earlier.
Thank you for being a member for 10 months, Libra.
Not just had initially shot one of the guardsmen, then leaned over as they were
Shot him again. Yep.
How many shots are we?
Well, the specific number, look, he had a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. Okay, so I believe that's a six-shooter. Yeah. So, you know,
Dang, he
that
shot him
kind of
with a
tells us how many
.357, guys.
shots he had. Yes.
Judge, you had mentioned we've been here before because we had, it was May, or the last time.
Yeah.
I want to ask if you could please comment to, obviously, we understand that you're saying this is under the Biden administration, and the words are that it was a failed withdrawal, and what happened there. There are people who are also upset with the president believing that the National Guard members should not even have been there, that were not in the executive order.
I don't even want to talk about whether they should have been there. We ought to kiss the ground and thank God that the president said it's time to bring in more law enforcement to make sure that a city that had the fourth highest homicide rate in the country was that violence was quelled. I'm not even going to go there.
People are still blaming Trump, guys. Says if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't even been there, guys. How do y'all feel about that?
Did authorities miss any signs, either in the asylum process or even back when he reportedly worked for the CIA? If you could talk about that.
Well, you miss all the signs when you do absolutely zero vetting. And that's exactly what happened in this case. When you, in the prior administration, made the decision to allow thousands of people into this country without doing a single piece of background checking or vetting,
Thank you,
that's how you
Ms.
miss every
Keisha.
single sign. And Secretary Kristi Noem has put out details specifically related to your other questions, so I'll
Thank
let
you,
that
Ms.
speak for
Bluebird.
themselves.
Specificity of when he was granted asylum, if you could just clarify that timeline and.
Yes, I believe Kristi Noem put that out, and that's a DHS matter, and I'll refer it to them.
Could you elaborate on?
Thank you, Angels.
steps that were taken in
Sure.
San Diego? You mentioned Bellingham, Washington.
Sure.
where you live, but, could you explain the San Diego connection?
So what happened was, thanks to the quick investigation by the interagency and the FBI, we were able to track down his last known residence, working with the United States Attorney's offices here and at the Department of Justice and prosecutors across the country. We were able to serve search warrants literally overnight
Thank
and
you,
through
your
the
mama.
night.
All night.
And we were able to hit the house in Washington State. During that process, we seized numerous electronic devices to include cell phones, laptops, iPads, and other material that is being analyzed as we speak. Pursuant to that investigation and any known associates of the subject and of that house is how we ended up in San Diego, where interviews were conducted and are going to be continued to be conducted. And we will go anywhere in the country or the world where the evidence leads us.
Are there accomplices, relationships in San Diego you can talk about?
All of that is an ongoing investigation.
Can anyone give an update as far as Sarah and Andrew who were injured? You said critical condition. Can you give anything beyond that? Are they expected to make it? Is it touch and go? Can you tell us a little more about how they're doing?
And the full spelling of their names, please.
It is Sarah Beckstrom, Beckstrom, and Andrew
That's the
Wolf
female
with an E,
and male troop that was
W-O-L-F-E.
shot, guys.
Okay, and Sarah Beckstrom,
How do you spell Sarah?
S with an H. Okay, now, with respect to their medical condition, as I said, they are receiving the finest medical care. Their families are with them now. They are critical. I think you understand the meaning of that. It's not clear, how this is going to end up. But let me be perfectly clear about how it will end up in this office. If one of them is to pass, and God forbid that happens, this is a murder one, period, end of the story. We are praying on a day like today when families come together in America and they hold hands around the Thanksgiving table. I beg you, I beseech you to pray for these two young people that they survive. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Happy.
Yeah, we're not going there. We're not going there. No, no. Thank you.
Sad, guys. Sad situation, man. Very sad situation as they provide us with updates on what happened. You know, let's go here. The more on the suspect, guys. An Afghan national.
In critical condition after they were shot Wednesday. This happened just a few blocks away from the White House. President Trump calling the shooting an evil act. He's now ordering hundreds of National Guard members to be deployed to the city and vowing to be tougher on immigration.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them.
The FBI says this was a targeted attack.
Authorities identifying the suspect as an Afghan national who entered the country in 2021. That suspect in custody. Two members of the National Guard shot and critically wounded Wednesday in Washington in what authorities are calling a targeted attack.
This is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen
Brazenly attacked in a horrendous act of violence. They were shot.
The suspect was also injured and is in custody.
The one suspect that was involved in this incident, they were shot during the interaction.
The shooting happening in broad daylight just blocks away from the White House. Video shows officers performing CPR on one guardsman next to a shattered bus stop. Another trooper lying on the ground surrounded by police.
I heard just pop, pop.
Local 10 photojournalist Cody McGowan heard the gunfire as he was heading into work.
I see a National Guardsman kind of like duck behind a wall, you know, and then I hear 2 or 3 pop, 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 2 more, you know, again. And that's, you know, and then I just started, you know, I got out of there. Everybody kind of got out of there.
Several law enforcement sources say the shooter's possible ID matches a man from Washington state who immigrated from Afghanistan in 2021, though they're still working to confirm that. The motive also remains unclear. President Trump, who was in Palm Beach at the time, posted on social media calling the shooter an animal who will pay a very steep price, adding, "God bless our great National Guard. These are truly great people."
This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers.
In the hours after the shooting, President Trump signed an emergency order to keep the National Guard in D.C. and send 500 more troops, despite a federal judge's ruling last week that the deployment was illegal. And late last night, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service announcing their halt on Afghan immigration, saying on social media in part, quote, "The protection and safety of our homeland and of our American people remains our singular
So
focus
no
and
Afghan
mission."
people can enter right now,
The motive
guys.
for
He
the
messed
attack
it up
is
for
still
all
not
of them.
clear, but officials said the shooter appeared to have acted alone. The identities of the suspect and the victims have not yet been made public.
All right, so Bundy and Trump are looking to hold this guy to the highest standard, guys. Check this out.
This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price.
A Fox News alert, the FBI is investigating this shooting of 2 National Guard members as an act of terror. And DHS now confirming the suspect is an Afghan national who entered the U.S. on a visa under the Biden administration.
Attorney General Pam Bondi joins us now. Good morning, Madam Attorney
And
General.
we got
Happy
word from Bundy,
Thanksgiving.
guys.
Will you
See
please
what she
walk us
talking
through the
about.
process that the Department of Justice is going through right now, please?
Sure. We're evaluating everything. Everyone's
Let's
been
get
up all
those
night
likes up.
since this
Double tap the
happened,
screen, guys. Get
evaluating
those likes
everything
up.
regarding
Subscribe to the
this
channel if you're
monster. The
new.
president's right. He is a monster who did this. You know, we have looked at, Emily, failed policies of Biden, from auto pinning violent felons being taken off death row to letting people into our country without proper vetting after the entire Afghanistan debacle. And it has been tremendously horrible for these young people's families who are going through this. Right now, we will base our charges based on their prognosis. You know, they both came through surgery. I'm not going to talk about their conditions right now. I know their families are with them. I'd like to add something about the young woman. She volunteered to be there on Thanksgiving, working today. She volunteered, as did many of those guardsmen and women, so other people could be home with their families. Yet now their families are in hospital rooms with them while they are fighting for their lives. So, you know, if, you know, just pray, everyone pray today for these two soldiers, these two guards, the man and woman.
Thank you,
but
Mark.
If something happens, I will tell you right now, I will tell you early, we will do everything in our power to seek the death penalty against that monster who should not have been in our country.
AG Bondi, that is so well said as we pray for these two victims who are the best and brightest among us. But I want to follow up briefly on the charges. Based upon the facts as they stand now, what is the maximum that you could charge? I understand you would seek the death penalty as a sentence, but in terms of a charge,
make sure you take time to subscribe to the channel,
what is the
guys.
maximum you could charge this individual with?
Yeah, and Todd, we're waiting right now, of course, on the prognosis of the young man and woman who are in the hospital. So it's going to depend on what happens to them. Again, we're praying for a recovery for them, but worst case scenario, minimum life in prison with terrorism charges. And again, it's still a very active, open investigation about this guy coming into our country in 2021 under the Biden administration, of course, from Afghanistan. Very active. I can tell you my National Security Division is involved. Janine Pirro, Kash Patel directly are involved. And we're doing everything we can as fast as we can. ATF has been involved analyzing the gun. They're moving at light speed to make sure justice is served, because these men and women out there on the streets every day are our heroes. I was in Memphis with them on Monday. We were serving them Thanksgiving dinner because they had all chosen to be with Memphis to keep Memphis safe instead of being with their families. And all the men and women that you're seeing on the screen right now with the National Guard, they had made the same decision, along with Metro Police. President Trump and I were talking all day yesterday. Muriel Bowser called me right away. I've talked to Mayor Bowser multiple times, and the men and women of Metro PD jumped in last night to have the backs of our Guard members who have always had their backs. And yes, President Trump is bringing in 500 more National Guard troops because we will not be taken down by this. We will not be threatened. We will not be intimidated as a country. And we will look out for the great men and women of law enforcement. And it's not only our Guard out there, as you know, it's DEA, it's FBI, it's ATF, it's U.S. Marshals running the whole show. It's working hand in hand with with Homeland Security NOMS, all of her HSI people. Scott Besson has Treasury officers out there even. And of course, Pete Hegseth has the lion's share with all those great men and women in the Guard, but we are working together and we will not be deterred. President Trump will not be deterred. He gave us one mission: make America safe again. And that's what these men and women are doing. They are heroes. They are the best of the best. They are working so we can all go to church, so our kids can go to school, so we can celebrate Thanksgiving with our families. Yet this horrific tragedy happened right now, and these families are having Thanksgiving at the bedside of their children and their family members.
Just heartbreaking, Madam Attorney General. And I know that the motive is not yet known, but I do wonder if you have a reaction to the fact that we have just witnessed for months several Democratic politicians blasting, decrying the administration's effort to put Guard troops in cities like Memphis, in cities like Washington. You just had one of them, Alyssa Slotkin, last week talking about warning that the National Guard was going to shoot Americans, but yet we saw just the opposite. This appears to be a targeted, blatant attack on the Guard troops. Your reaction?
Yeah, I can't, again, talk a lot about the facts, but yes, I agree with you. What these lawmakers are doing, what some of these news anchors on other networks are doing, what their guests are saying is disgusting. It's despicable. They should be praising our men and women in law enforcement. And we are looking at everything they have said and why they said it, and if they encouraged acts of violence. But it is, it's actually sad what our country has come to with these progressive left idiots who are doing this and saying this about our heroes who are keeping them safe. And some of the people, let me continue, who are saying this, they have security details to keep them safe. It's unbelievable to me.
All right, Madam Attorney General, thank you for the insight. Please bring us any details, particularly about how those two brave Guardsmen are doing. Thank you for taking time on Thanksgiving morning.
The most important thing you can do today is pray. Please pray. Thank you.
We are mightily.
And we'll be right back.
All right, so that was Pam Bundy, guys, on her stance on this whole entire situation. Here's more on the Afghan National, guys.
Thanksgiving Eve tragedy today. We're covering how two National Guardsmen were shot in the head by a lone assailant just blocks from the White House. The suspect is reportedly a 29-year-old Afghan national named Ramanullah Lakanwal, who entered the United States in 2021.
Raymond Noodle Akada, that's his name, Raymond Noodle. Yeah, that's what we gonna call him. Raymond Noodle Akada is his name. Raymond Noodle Akada is the person who did this, guys. Raymond Noodle, that's his name.
Eve tragedy today. We're covering how two National Guardsmen were shot in the head by a lone assailant just blocks from the White House. The suspect is reportedly a 29-year-old Afghan national named Ramanullah Lakanwal, who entered the United States in 2021. Both National Guardsmen are currently in critical condition, and the FBI is reportedly investigating this as an act of terror. President Trump took to Truth Social, calling the shooter an animal, vowing that he will pay a very steep price. And Trump also doubled down on his National Guard deployment effort, ordering an additional 500 guardsmen to D.C. For further discussion on the why, the politics of this, I want to bring in lawmakers from both sides of the aisle. We're joined by Republican Randy Fine and Democrat Suhas Subramaniam. Thank you so much for coming on, both of you. Representative Fine, I'll start with you. So you had a tweet after the shooting. My prayers go out to the two National Guardsmen who were shot,
something like that.
Roman noodle, impacted by the senseless act of violence.
Something like
You've
that
been
is
somebody
his
who
name.
supported the National Guard deployment. The statement from September, you said public safety is a choice, and I want to thank President Trump for choosing to make Washington great again. I have to ask you, as this is developing, you know what a talking point's going to be. There are those who are going to say it was the president's fault, that if the president hadn't ordered National Guard members to D.C., this wouldn't have happened, that he put them in the line of fire.
That's about the
When you
fifth
get
time
that
they blame it on Trump.
When you get that comment, what will be your response?
I'm going to call them the idiots that they are. The National Guard was brought to Washington to make it safer. It's been overwhelmingly successful. And the people of Washington, including the Democrat mayor, say so. And let me say this. What happened today was not a tragedy. A tragedy is when someone crashes their car by accident. This was a terrorist attack by an illegal immigrant, a Muslim terrorist from Afghanistan who walked out of a subway station, walked up to 2 National Guard soldiers and shot them in the head. We should be angry is how we should be feeling right now. And the only other emotion we should have is being brokenhearted for these 2 brave National Guardsmen and their families.
And Representative Subramaniam, the temperature's hot right now. National Guard is part of the conversation.
Hold on, they gave us his age and stuff. His name,
and Representative,
there go his name right there. Raymond Noodle, Roman numeral, Lockenawal. That's the dude who did it name. I'm just saying, Raymond Noodle or Roman numeral, whichever one you want to call him. He an Afghan national, 29 years old, entered the U.S. in 2021 under Operation Allies Welcome. In the country, he was here illegally, guys. Yeah, okay. All right, so this is the suspect's name right here. Y'all go do y'all research. You know y'all love to do research. There you go. Raymond Noodle, you know what I'm saying? Lockenawal, or whatever his name is.
Subramaniam, the temperature's hot right now. National Guard is part of the conversation. The flip side of it is there are going to be those who say they have been demonized by those on the left, right? These armed men and women coming into cities. You had Democrat Senator Alyssa Slotkin appeared on Sunday, said that the National Guardsmen, she was nervous, would begin shooting at American citizens. Is it that kind of talk, that kind of language, that kind of rhetoric, where, as I mentioned before the break, I kept getting the question, Jesse, be on the lookout. Something like this is going to happen. Something like this is going to happen. And yes, we don't know the full motive. We don't know the full circumstances here. But is that a problem? Is that something that might fuel something like this?
With bacon. Let's go.
Well, to the extent that National Guardsmen themselves have been demonized, I don't think that's right. I think, certainly I and many others have opposed the deployment and the way they deployed the National Guard, but the National Guardsmen themselves we fully support, and this is absolutely horrific what happened. And so, certainly this is not what we want to see, especially Thanksgiving week like this.
Hold on. And the most important detail they gave us is I don't know if some of y'all caught it, but they said that he shot them with a .357 Magnum in the head, guys. He in the head. Wow.
Exactly the motives. So we don't know if it's terrorism for sure, but what we do know is that this is preventable, should be preventable, and we should make sure that this never happens again.
100%. And Representative Fine, I'm going to go back to this idea of now deploying 500 more National Guard members, putting aside the legal logistics of it. Yes, I'm the attorney, and I could talk about how recently a judge said that the president's deploying a National Guard in D.C. is illegal and it should be suspended. Put that to the side. From a political point of view, from a safety point of view, is it the right move to deploy this many members of the National Guard, considering what just happened? Or do you agree with Pete Hegseth when he said we will not be deterred and this is not, we shouldn't remove forces from our cities?
Absolutely, I support it. And I think we need to go a step further. It is unacceptable when someone who should not be in our country at all hurts an American. And so what we need to do is double down, triple down, quintuple down on the number of ICE agents rounding up and deporting every single one of these people who is in our country illegally. That's what people should be most angry about. This is someone who shouldn't have even been here, who is trying to execute American servicemen. People should be angry. We need a lot more law enforcement, not less.
And that's an interesting point. So, Representative Subramaniam, there's an issue here where if this is true, right, you have somebody who came in here, was supposed to be welcomed as an Afghan refugee, overstayed visa, now allegedly targeted 2 members of our National Guard. How is this not going to be a talking point for President Trump, for his administration, for those on the right to say this is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about illegal immigration, when we talk about illegal migration and the dangers here? What would be your response to that?
A couple of things. First, I'll just say that it can be a talking point, but the reality is we have a broken immigration system. We've had for a while now. We've needed to solve this for many decades, and we haven't as a country. We've tried many times and failed, and so Congress needs to come together and do comprehensive immigration reform, not just this piecemeal thing and sending people at border. I mean, this was a visa overstay. I've said this so many times. A lot of the undocumented folks in our country are not people coming across the border. They're actually visa overstays, and so we need to have a better process there and do better enforcement there. But I don't think doubling and tripling down on the National Guard is the right solution either. I mean, DC law enforcement is underfunded. Budgets earlier this year that Congress passed underfunded DC law enforcement. They're 800 officers short. We should be putting more officers on the ground who have experience with this and knowledge about how to do community policing rather than just National Guardsmen who don't have the same kind of experience in a situation like that.
That's an interesting point, Representative Fine. The argument would be they're untrained in federal law enforcement procedures. They're on the ground there. There's an uncertainty about what their position should be. Maybe they're, going back to the idea of are they being put in harm's way? Should it be an increase in funding in local law enforcement? I mean, when you look at something like this, is that a fair assessment that perhaps they don't belong on the ground there?
I think saying it would be okay if 2 DC cops got shot in the head by an illegal immigrant Muslim terrorist from Afghanistan, as opposed to 2 National Guards, is a pretty disgusting equivocation. My view is this: we need to be rounding up all of these people and sending them home. My colleague is correct. Half of illegal immigrants in this country did not swim across the Rio Grande. They came here legally, and then they refused to go home when they were supposed to. They are just as illegal as those who swam across the Rio Grande, and all of them need to be rounded up, and all of them need to be deported. And I hope what we take from this is a determination to do that, because when an American citizen is killed by someone who should not have even been in the country at all, it is a disgrace.
And there's a multiple stories. Please. Yeah.
I did not say that it was okay for cops to get shot either. That's absolutely false, and I'd never say that. I think what I was saying is that cops are experienced in doing community policing and evidence-based law enforcement, not National Guardsmen, who, frankly, many of them have said they didn't know what to do when they got there, right?
I mean, the guy walked out of the station, held up his gun, and shot them in the head. I don't know that it would have mattered if they were DC police or not. I mean, this was
Representative Fine,
just on him.
Representative Fine, just 1 second. Representative Subramanian, yeah.
I think this was a terrible act. We don't know if it's terrorism yet, but it's certainly awful. So we don't know the motives behind this. But I'll say generally, and because I live in the D.C. area, I'm 30 minutes outside in Northern Virginia, we have seen people who work there go in and out to say that this has been a real waste of taxpayer money and a waste of resources when we should be diverting those resources to policing because the D.C. police have been underfunded. That would have been a better approach this whole year.
Unfortunately, this is one of those situations that is going to be politicized. It is going to be a talking point, and it's going to be used in different ways. So I think it's really, really important to get to the bottom of what exactly happened here in the circumstances, and that's hopefully what we can do. But Congressman, thank you both for coming on. Again, wish it was under better circumstances. Wishing you all.
All right, guys. Breaking news. Virginia high school has identified, one of the troops that was gunned down in Washington, guys. Here he is.
Now, at the heart of this tragedy, of course, are 2 young lives serving their country. Breaking overnight, one of the commanders from D.C.'s National Guard released a statement calling the injured West Virginia Guardsmen heroes and saying in part, quote, the National Guardsmen and police officers who subdued the suspected shooter are also heroes.
Adding, they ran towards the danger to keep the district safe. My prayers are with the Guardsmen and for their families. And this morning, we want to focus on those 2 Guardsmen and their condition.
Our Sarah Robinson is live at MedStar Washington Hospital Center with what we know so far. Sarah, good morning.
Good morning, Wisdom and Allison. The scene here, of course, this morning is a somber one as law enforcement officials confirm that the 2 National Guard members who were shot yesterday in D.C. are being treated here this morning at MedStar Washington Hospital Center. And of course, it has been a heavy couple of hours for the family, friends, and loved ones who knew these 2 victims, who are now hoping, waiting, and praying for a positive outcome here at the hospital. Now, overnight, a social media post from Musselman High School in Edenwood, West Virginia, posted this photo on Facebook Facebook identifying alumnus Andrew Wolf as one of the National Guard victims. A portion of the school's statement reads, "Our Appleman County is deeply saddened to learn that Musselman High School alumnus Andrew Wolf was among the National Guardsmen injured in the shooting in Washington, D.C. today. Andrew is currently in critical condition and undergoing surgery. Please keep Andrew, his family, and all those affected in your thoughts. Once an Appleman, always an Appleman." Now, that post has since been taken down, but FBI Director Kash Patel did confirm yesterday that the two guardsmen shot in the attack were taken to the hospital in critical condition. Now, he has not identified them at this time. In the aftermath of yesterday's shooting, our crews on scene here at MedStar Washington observed a steady stream of law enforcement vehicles, including DC police and federal officers. We also saw National Guard members arriving and an FBI agent entering the building as well. The FBI is one of the agencies leading this investigation, along with Homeland Security and supported by MPD. Witnesses of the shooting tell us that they were in shock that this happened and, of course, ran away in terror.
I heard boom, boom.
3 came probably 30 seconds behind them.
I would lastly like to add to the American public and the world, please send your prayers to those brave warriors who are in critical condition and their families. They are here serving our country. They are here protecting everyday Americans and citizens around the world in our nation's capital. They are...
And here live outside MedStar Hospital this morning, of course, both of those guardsmen remain hospitalized. We are now waiting for an update on their condition. We are expecting to get an update here soon. So, of course, as soon as we get that, we'll be sure to let you know. But a very tragic situation, really feeling for all of those affected. Wisdom, Allison?
Absolutely. That's Sarah Robinson for us live. Thank you, Sarah.
All right. I also want to, I don't know if y'all caught this either. This is a little off of this topic. We're going to come right back to it. But apparently, ICE has detained a relative of Caroline Leavitt, guys. You know, the one who, the White House Secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Well, ICE has detained one of her family members. Check this out.
White House Press Secretary, a woman with a family connection to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, is now being held by ICE.
I wonder how she feel about
Her attorney
that.
confirms she is a native of Brazil. She is the mother of Leavitt's nephew. Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Turk.
So they have ICE has detained Caroline Leavitt's sister-in-law. Well, I wonder how she feel about that. Oh my goodness.
Is live in our DC newsroom. And Patrick, does she face deportation?
She absolutely does, Del. She is locked up right now in Louisiana awaiting deportation hearings. Her name is Bruna Caroline Ferreira, and she is the mother of an 11-year-old boy who is also the nephew of White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. She shares custody of that 11-year-old with Leavitt's brother, Michael. The two of them are still in close contact but do not live together.
Oh, wow. I know she like ICE done overstepped their boundaries. Woo-wee. I wonder how this gonna play out. Yeah, I wonder how this gonna play out. Yeah, they done arrested her sister-in-law, guys. Caroline Leavitt's sister-in-law has been detained by ICE, guys, and faces the possibility of deportation. And she is currently being detained right now.
All of this began with that traffic stop earlier this month in November in the suburbs of Boston, where she was ultimately detained by ICE and sent down to Louisiana. According to the White House and the Department of Homeland Security, she is a, quote, criminal illegal alien, something that the attorney disputes.
Not a criminal illegal alien. Let's talk about it.
The attorney representing Ferreira saying that she came to the United States as a child in the mid-90s and overstayed a 1999 visa at the time. Again, she was a child, just about 5 years old when this happened in 1999. And according to Homeland Security, there is a charge she faced at some point for battery, but that is something that the attorney tells us simply is not true. The attorney saying that she does not have any criminal record. So she continues to fight this, all the while the attorney is saying they do not believe that there is any sort of connection here with Caroline Leavitt. They do not believe that Ferreira was targeted. Take a listen.
Our concern right now is getting a single mother out of a nice hellhole in Louisiana. We have no idea why she was detained. She wasn't given any explanation at all. And her relationship with the press secretary for the White House appears to be happenstance.
And that attorney saying that she was arrested on her way to actually go to school to pick up her son, that 11-year-old boy, who again is the nephew of Caroline Levitt. We reached out to the White House in hopes of getting comment from Levitt. We got a statement back from someone who asked to be referred to as a source close to the situation, who said that Levitt and Ferreira, the detained woman, have not spoken in years. Del.
Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra live for us in our D.C.
Yeah, I just thought that was rather interesting. Y'all might want to know that Caroline Levitt's sister-in-law has been detained and is currently detained by ICE with the possibility of being deported, guys. Oh, wow. I wonder how Trump and them is going to work this out. All right, here's Stephen A. Smith. You know, he gave his little insight and how he felt about the situation that happened in Washington, D.C. With the National Guard, guys. Let's see what he got to say.
From 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 Thanksgiving. Needless to say that tonight, however, that doesn't apply. Maybe we'll find a way to be happy tomorrow. Maybe we'll find a way to get better news tomorrow. But as of right now, the news permeating the airwaves, on radio, on television, etc., is that 2 members of the National Guard have been shot and are in critical condition in the nation's capital. They were shot in the nation's capital. They are in critical condition. They are not dead, as Governor of West Virginia, Patrick Morrisey, initially tweeted about on X. They have not died, but they are certainly in serious condition after being shot, ambushed by a lone gunman. That's the situation right now, and a lot of people are being it, and people are calling it something associated with politics. They're saying it's political or what have you. We don't know for sure, and we're certainly not going to act like we do definitively. But there is no questioning that this has happened. There's no questioning that it was in the nation's capital, just a few blocks away from the White House. President Donald Trump is in Florida for the holidays, so he was not at the White House. But nevertheless, obviously, he's had some things to say about this, and there are people that are involved, and this situation is taking on a life of its own. Reading directly from the Wall Street Journal, as the headline states, a lone gunman ambushed 2 National Guard members in D.C. Police say the pair are in critical condition, according to the FBI. A suspect was shot and is in custody. A quote from Metropolitan Police Executive Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll says it appears to be a lone gunman that raised a firearm and ambushed these members of the National Guard. For those of you who may not remember, some 2,200 National Guard members were deployed in the nation's capital, including 925 members of the D.C. forces and more than 1,200 members from other states. The district's elected attorney general had sued over their presence, which was ordered by President Trump as part of an effort his administration dubbed Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful. That's what it is. It's a bigger story going on. And it's not to imply that this story isn't serious and this story isn't large, and that the officer and that the lives of 2 National Guardsmen don't matter, because obviously we're praying for their full and healthy recovery. But it is important to pay attention to what's going on in the climate that exists and what's been going on in the days leading up to the shooting that took place today. If you recall, there was a video that was put out. And again, I'm talking both sides. This is what I mean when I say I don't like none of their asses. None of them. Either side. I'm not getting in to specific individuals. I'm just talking about both sides of the aisle and how they've served to divide us as a nation. Because the constant rhetoric, the constant vitriol that's in a toxic language that is thrown and bandied about by both sides ends up inciting, in my opinion, and it's just an opinion, but damn it, I think it's an educated one, inciting the ire of American citizens out here. Now, I'm one of those big dudes. I'm an adult.
What's up, Gillo?
Regardless of the language that is spewed, regardless of the rhetoric that we listen to, regardless of that stuff, at the end of the day, you're an adult and you are responsible for your own actions. So this individual that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, okay, I hope he survives. I hope he stands trial. I hope his ass is thrown in jail for the next few decades. Okay, that's attempted murder at the very least, because they're alive. It's attempted murder. There's no place for that. No place for that in our society. Zero. So there's no sympathy for that gunman whatsoever. But it doesn't mean that we sit back and we ignore the kind of nonsense that has been transpiring. We've seen it on both sides of the aisle. We saw President Trump getting into it with Marjorie Taylor Greene. We saw the rhetoric that was bandied back and forth when the shutdown was going on, and how one side was accusing the other of not caring enough about American citizens when they weren't getting checks and they was having travel nightmares and they had to go to work but weren't getting paid. And how folks didn't care. Then we heard about the whole SNAP program and how 42 million plus people were on food stamps. And then we heard elected officials being accused of not caring if people starved. When you say this kind of stuff, when you act this way, and when you exercising a dereliction of duty because you're not on point and you're not at work and you're not exhausting every means necessary to do everything you can to alleviate problems that permeate in our society so they don't exist. So we don't have this kind of ruckus. So we don't have this kind of uproar. Maybe, just maybe, stuff like this doesn't happen.
Hey, Belinda.
There's always crazies out there. There's always somebody willing to commit a crime. I get that part. I understand it. And we can't definitively blame politicians. But damn it, they don't make it. They don't make it hard to blame them. They don't make it hard to blame them. So let's lock in and zero in on some of the stuff that's just been happening a couple of days ago alone. Did you see the video? I'm going to ask y'all again. Did you see the video?
I seen the video.
By these 6 elected officials. Senator Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. Representative Maggie Goodlander of New Hampshire. Representative Jason Crow of Colorado. And Representatives Chris Deluzio and Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania. Those are the Democratic lawmakers who are now under FBI inquiry because they made a video essentially encouraging military folks to ignore orders they deemed illegal handed down by the commander-in-chief, who is known as President Donald Trump. Needless to say, Trump was not going to take that lying down. So naturally, he had something to say about that on his Truth Social platforms. I got 3 of them to read to y'all right now so you know what he's saying. President of the United States, Donald Trump, November 20th, 2025, writes, "It's called seditious behavior at the highest level. Each one of these traitors to our country should be arrested and put on trial. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. We won't have a country anymore. An example must be set." President DJT. That wasn't his only tweet or post on Truth Social. Then he comes back. Seditious behavior, all caps. Punishable by, and the word death in caps. He had one more that he posted. Here it is. "The traitors that told the military to disobey my orders should be in jail right now, not roaming the fake news networks trying to explain that what they said was okay. It wasn't, and never will be. It was sedition at the highest level, and sedition is a major crime. There can be no other interpretation of what they said." Respectfully, hold on, Mr. President. That's not entirely true. You could have said seditious language, and you may have had a point, particularly when it comes to what we saw on video from Senator Mark Kelly. I don't know if we have that video right now, but I'd like to see it if we did. My point is, you could have said seditious language. You could have said that was irresponsible. You could have said, "How dare you give such a directive to our military men and women who serve under my command because I'm the commander-in-chief." You could have said that and stopped right there. Traitorous, punishable by death. That's a bit extreme, Mr. President.
Make sure you
Highly
guys take
irresponsible on
time
your
to
part, I might add.
subscribe to the channel.
Definitely
Also,
hyperbolic,
double tap that screen. That's how you hit the
beyond the
like
realms
button.
of embellishment, and dare I say, irresponsible on your part to be coming out with such rhetoric like that. You're calling for a United States senator to be seen as a traitor, to be arrested. You're accusing them of an act of treason, punishable by death, and you think that helps. Before I go any further, I'd like my team to put up on the screen the credentials of this particular senator who called for Trump's orders to be ignored. I would like to remind you that this is a retired United States Navy combat pilot who served our country with honor and distinction. I'd like to remind the president this is a NASA astronaut, not to mention a sitting United States senator in the United States of America. That's what you just said. Respectfully, Mr. President, Mark Kelly served this country with distinction. You didn't. Not as a military official. I forgot what it was that Westmore joked about when it came to you, the governor of Maryland, and what rationale you used to avoid entry into the United States military when you were younger. But you would think that there's a level of sensitivity that the president would have. Sensitivity maybe not towards Mark Kelly, but towards the process. Knowing our country and who we are and what we stand for. And he should not be saying something like that. Having said that, respectfully, to Senator Mark Kelly and the other 5 representatives in our nation's capital, Trump wasn't entirely correct. That's true. He also wasn't entirely incorrect. Senator Slotkin, Senator Kelly, Representatives Crow, DeLuzio, Houlihan, and Goodlander. The president wasn't entirely wrong. He may have gone too far with treasonous, punishable by death. But was he wrong to allude to the word seditious or to say the word seditious, particularly when it comes to the language that emanated out of the mouth of Mark Kelly? At least that's the one I saw. No, he was not. Matter of fact, if I remember correctly, looking at Senator Slotkin on television, I believe it was on ABC over the weekend. She claimed on national television, National Guardsmen were going to start shooting at American civilians. That wasn't responsible. Senator Slotkin, what's that about? What's that about? That doesn't help matters. And as it pertains to Senator Kelly, let's make sure we point this out too, because this is incredibly important. It really, really is. When you look at Senator Kelly and what he said, I asked somebody, one of my researchers, to look this up for me because I wanted to know exactly what this was. And what am I asking about, ladies and gentlemen? I'll tell you what I'm asking about.
Can we get 20 more on that like button, guys? I need 20 more of y'all to double tap that screen. We're 20 likes away from 500, guys. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. Yeah, it helps out the channel. Let's get the likes up, guys. Double tap the screen or click the 3 dots in the right-hand corner and hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new.
Because when he called for the military to essentially ignore orders, I started thinking back to that movie, A Few Good Men. I started thinking about Tom Cruise having the character played by Kiefer Sutherland. I think it was Lieutenant Kendrick. And when he was grilling him, and there was an objection from the DA, Kevin Bacon, I remember the judge looking at Tom Cruise and saying, and I will remind you, you're talking to a decorated officer. Because essentially it was a reminder that this isn't a normal court of law. This is the United States military. They live by a different code. They live by a different code of ethics. It's called the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ. It's the federal law that governs the conduct of all U.S. military personnel, active duty reservists, and in some cases, even retired service members. It functions at the military's legal system, as the military's legal system, separate from civilian law, with its own courts, crimes, procedures, and punishments. That's what it says here. What does the Uniform Code for Military Justice actually do? It sets the rules for crimes and offenses, service member rights, court-martial procedures, non-judicial punishment, Article 15, by the way, and command authority. Why it exists? Because military service requires standards of discipline and readiness beyond civilian law. Essentially, a consistent legal framework. If anybody knows that, it's Mark Kelly. Respectfully, Senator, what the hell are you doing?
Gabriel.
Looking into the camera and telling military men and women to ignore the commander-in-chief. How dare you? How dare you do that? That's right, I'm calling out. I never served in the military. That's true. I have family members who did. Some of my best friends have. Marines, Air Force, Navy, Army. I haven't heard one of them, not one of them, say that was okay. How dare you do that? Is it treason? No. Is it punishable by death? It shouldn't be. So the answer is no. But you know better, Senator Kelly. You know better. How dare you do that?
I don't know, dog.
What are you supposed to do? You're a rank.
They said ignore illegal orders. It's always, hey, you gotta, hey, man, I don't know, where people are getting this mistaken at, but I specifically remember hearing them say you have the right to ignore illegal orders. You got to put that in there, man.
Ranking senator. You could go to the Senate. You could go to the House. You can draw up paperwork. You can try to start articles of impeachment if you think there's something illegal. I mean, damn, it ain't like y'all haven't done it before. You impeached the man twice. Where'd that get you? Got us behind back in the White House. Had you left them alone since 2020, maybe you wouldn't.
Specifically, whichever way you want to say it, tomato, to whoever down there trying to correct what I said. Don't tell me what to say on my channel. You knew what I was talking about. Don't be down there trying to be funny for you get deported. Yeah, how about that?
Be back. Terrorizing the Democratic Party the way that he is. But you did it.
Type it again. I'm going to get you up out of here. Dilly, whatever your name is. Type it one more time. I'm going to show you what mass deportation means.
You did it. And here you are again with this nonsense. How dare you do that? I'm not a military person, and I know better than that. You don't tell military men and women to ignore an order from the commander-in-chief. You don't do that. Is it going to amount to what Trump tried to embellish and indicate? No. But that don't make you right. How dare you do that? He's the commander-in-chief for the United States.
Let's get John Crawford right up out of here because his mama is a dumb A. Since you want to put that, comment in my chat. Your mama.
Military. Period. You have no business doing that. None.
And sir, why would you say that? Because she had you. That made her a dumb A. Yeah, real talk. Why you talking trash down there, sir?
And by the way, the biggest reason is because what was illegal? You didn't tell us what it was. What laws? Why did I bring up A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise and Kiefer Sutherland in that sequence? And Kevin Bacon. Why did I bring it up? Because the mere thought of you even implying that a military officer is engaging in some type of salacious or illegal activity is trouble in the military. Not.
Let's get Tony up out of here because his sister got a low IQ. Let's get Tony right up out of here. Your sister got a low IQ. Well, why do you say that, sir? Cause she's your sister and you're her brother. What does that say about you?
At the court of laws for civilians, the military. Senator Mark Kelly knows that. Trump is giving illegal orders. What are the illegal orders? How come you didn't tell us? Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Why do you think the investigation is going on? Why do you think Trump is all over Pete Hegseth, over the Department of War and the FBI with Kash Patel, and folks are looking into and probing what's going on and how can they get to Mark Kelly because they know he did something wrong. You crossed the damn line. You are an elected official of the nation's capital. We have a constitution. You got a problem, you go through the necessary process. Whether it's Hakeem Jeffries in the House, whether it's Schumer in the Senate, or anybody else, that is the point that's the process you're supposed to go to. You don't go in front of the cameras and give military officer or military personnel a directive to ignore their commander-in-chief, and you've given no evidence what his illegal orders were. And if you try to sit up there and say, oh, it was just alluding to a future reference to future situations, oh, so he's going to give you an illegal order in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, that flies over the airwaves of Sirius XM or one of these news networks or something like that. It does not apply in our military. You can't do that. So once again, here we are finding ourselves. To all of us moderates out here, which makes up about 80 to 85% of the electorate, by the way, what does this all mean? What this all means is that there's an absence of common sense on the fringes. Extreme right, extreme left, people don't know how the hell to act. And engaging in this kind of back and forth gives the impression of dissension and vitriol beyond the realms of sensibilities. And something needs to be done. This is why a damn sports guy with no interest in being an elected official is being considered a presidential candidate, because we don't trust their asses. Because they don't know how to act. This is overboard. I thought hyperbole and embellishment was supposed to be reserved for Trump, Senator Kelly. That's what I thought. Evidently, I was wrong.
All right, so that was Stephen A. Smith, guys, on his take of all of this that's going on, man. It's crazy out here, y'all. It's crazy. Check this out. Here go more on the D.C. situation with the suspect being identified as Raymond Noodle.
Members on patrol in D.C. continues. We have a live look this morning at MedStar Hospital, where at least one of the wounded Guards members was taken. Both, we're told, are in critical condition, and both are from West Virginia. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning. I'm Adriana Hopkins. This morning, we are learning more about one of those wounded soldiers. This is National Guards member Andrew Wolf. He is high school alma mater in West Virginia, posted this statement saying, quote, "Our Appleman community is deeply saddened to learn that Musselman High School alumnus Andrew Wolf was one of the National Guardsmen injured in the shooting in Washington." They go on to share their grief for his family. Also responding to the shooting, President Trump and West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey. Take a listen.
This was an act of unspeakable violence. Our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers go out to the brave service members, their families, and the units who are enduring this terrible tragedy. Just know, we're going to keep working to make sure that justice is served.
I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price.
Well, the suspect has been identified and is in custody. He was injured and returned fire from the National Guard. Now, the shooting happened just blocks away from the White House on the eve of Thanksgiving. We go now to our John Gonzalez. He's live near 17th and I with what investigators are saying this morning and what this means for security in D.C. So, John, what are you learning this morning?
Well, Adriana, this is where it all unfolded. Right here behind me, right outside of the Farragut North Metro Station, all of the flashing lights, most of the cops have cleared the scene, but the footprints of violence still lingers. The glass panel that was shattered here at the bus shelter is still missing. You've got a lot of glass on the street. Investigators say the attack here was targeted, was fast and devastating. Police tell 7 News the chaos erupted at around 2:15 yesterday afternoon. 2 West Virginia National Guard troops shot in the head, both now in critical condition, and overnight we've learned the suspect has been identified by law enforcement as 29-year-old Ramanula Lockenwall. Authorities stress they are still working to fully confirm his background and are digging deeper into any possible motives here. The suspect was quickly taken down after captured and, well, in what police are calling a back-and-forth gunfire overnight. Major roadways around Connecticut Avenue, K Street here, even near the West Wing perimeter, remained locked down. All has pretty much reopened this morning as the investigation continues.
When a suspect came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm and discharged it at the National Guard members.
This is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen.
This is a domestic terrorist, and this is something that you just don't want to have happen, or even dream to think happen, and it has. And so, being close to it, seeing it, it's a conversation that's going to be happening at the tables tomorrow, especially in the DMV.
Local and federal leaders now demanding answers. Was this politically motivated? Was it part of something larger? And this morning, a new federal surge. 500 more Guard troops ordered into D.C. Much more on that coming up later this hour. Reporting live, John Gonzalez, 7 News.
And as mentioned, President Trump is ordering 500 more National Guard troops to D.C. in the wake of this attack. Now, 7 News spoke to a professor at George Washington University about the potential response to the additional troops coming to D.C. and the impacts that could have.
I think it will create a kind of narrative one way or the other. And to be honest, I think different sides, whether people support or oppose these National Guard deployments, different sides are going to use whatever information comes out to push their, to their advantage, right? They're going to push their narrative about whether this means that the Guard should not be here or whether there should be more Guard troops. So I guess my concern is that it's going to further fracture this already really difficult debate.
Breaking news, 2 National Guard members in critical condition after being shot in Northwest. Here's a live look right now at MedStar Washington, where at least 1 of the wounded soldiers were taken. Thanks for joining us here at 5:30. I'm Adriana Hopkins. This is one of the injured National Guards members, Andrew Wolf, on your screen here. His alma mater, Musselman High in West Virginia, shared their condolences. And this shooting was right near the White House at 17th and I Streets in Northwest. Also close by, Farragut and Lafayette Squares, as well as the Smithsonian's Renwick Gallery. The area was packed, of course, with people here for the holiday. And this is the dramatic scene that played out on a sidewalk. Now, we have blurred out the Guard member lying there on the ground, but you can clearly see other law enforcement immediately giving CPR to that Guards member. And this morning, we're learning more about the suspect, who was also shot and wounded. Well, ABC News is identifying him as 29-year-old Ramanula Lockenwall. The Department of Homeland Security says he's an Afghan national who entered the U.S. back in September 2021. They say he came to the U.S. as part of a program called Operation Allies Welcome. Well, now President Trump is calling for a reinvestigation of all Afghans who enter the country under that program.
Of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival.
According to CNN, police ran the fingerprints of the man in custody, and that's how they got his name. Indications are he lives in Washington state. Well, the Operation Allies Welcome program was put into effect under the Biden administration back in 2021. It was started as U.S. troops withdrew from Afghanistan, and its goal was to help, quote, vulnerable Afghans settle in the U.S. The Department of Homeland Security said at the time it was screening and vetting the Afghans before they came here. However, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services says effective immediately, it will no longer process immigration requests from Afghans for an indefinite period of time. Now, in the wake of this shooting, the Trump administration is ordering 500 more National Guard troops to D.C. This comes amid an ongoing court fight over whether they're even allowed to operate here. Straight out now to 7 News' John Gonzalez. He is live downtown with the overnight developments. John, good morning.
Adriana, good morning. And this is a major escalation unfolding this morning right here in the heart of the nation's capital, just feet from the White House where this all happened. And the president, even though he wasn't at the White House at the time, he is wasting no time. The attack that critically wounded 2 National Guard soldiers has triggered a rapid, forceful response all across Washington by request from the president. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordering 500 additional National Guard troops into the district, troops who could begin arriving as early as this morning. The move comes as investigators confirm both soldiers shot in the head remain in critical condition. This new surge of troops lands in a city already in the middle of a legal war. Just days ago, a federal judge ruled the administration's deployment of more than 2,000 Guard members to D.C. was illegal, but the order is paused for 21 days, meaning those forces and now hundreds more can remain on the streets for now.
The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act, targeting the best of America, heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community.
For now, investigators this morning are working to determine if this gunman worked alone and why these National Guard troops were targeted. Reporting live downtown, John Gonzalez, 7 News.
It's crazy, y'all. It's crazy, man. And everybody's talking about this situation, man. How y'all feel about it out there? Check this one out. Hold up.
This morning, 2 National Guard members remain in critical condition after they were shot just blocks from the White House. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with the new details. We're learning about the suspect.
This morning, 2 National Guard members are in critical condition after they were shot while on duty just blocks from the White House. Authorities say the suspect, identified as 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakhanwal, allegedly tracked the guardsmen before opening fire. ABC photographer Chris Plater was nearby and heard the gunshots.
One National Guard was lying on his side. Then I looked at the other National Guard member that was down, and I saw compressions going on.
There was countless personnel around him, and they put him in a truck, and a minute later they were gone.
The gunshots erupting Wednesday afternoon near the Farragut West Metro Station, where the National Guardsman was on patrol. Authorities say he was then shot by other Guards members and taken into custody critically injured.
The reason that this suspect is in custody is because of the bravery of the men and women of the National Guard who responded due to their extensive training to secure American lives today.
Some 2,000 members of the National Guard have been on deployment in Washington, D.C. under President Trump's crackdown on violent crime. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says he will follow the president's request to have the Army Secretary order an additional 500 troops into the nation's capital. Now, the FBI is investigating the shooting as a potential act of international terrorism, trying to determine if it was inspired by an international terror group. Sources say Lakhanwal entered the U.S. in 2021 during the Biden administration. He was then granted asylum earlier this year under the Trump administration. CIA Director John Ratcliffe told Fox News that the suspect previously worked with the CIA and U.S. forces in Afghanistan.
Whoa.
President Trump
The suspect previously worked with the CIA, guys. Oh, wow. Raymond Noodle worked with the CIA. I'll be dang. Formerly.
Overnight called for the re-examination of all immigrants from Afghanistan admitted under the Trump administration, saying, quote, "We must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country." And the Trump administration has now suspended all immigration requests relating to Afghan nationals, pending further review of security and vetting protocols. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
This is crazy, guys. Wow, man. Worked with the CIA previously. Ain't that something, y'all? Ain't that something? Wow. Wow, 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 y'all. Wow. This is Buddy. These are the two National Guards members and the suspect right here. Photos of each one of them, y'all. That's crazy, y'all. Wow, man. Wow. Previously worked with the CIA. I am like, what? That's crazy. That's crazy, y'all. Wow. Well, as far as updates go, that's everything that I've been able to find thus far. I hope y'all got some information that y'all did not know. I most definitely didn't know that his name was Raymond Noodle and that he used to work for the CIA. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Wow, wow, wow. You learn something new every day. I most definitely learned something. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Most definitely will bring you all the latest and breaking of news, guys. All the updates of everything that I'm able to find on this whole entire situation. I hope that you subscribe to the channel if you're new. I hope that you double tap that screen, because that's how you hit the like button, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up. That's another way to hit the like button. It most definitely helps out the channel, man. Y'all have a blessed Thanksgiving, a happy Thanksgiving, man. You know, I'm about to go eat me some turkey and ham, and I hope y'all are doing the same, man. Love your family, man. Prayers for the two guardsmen that were hurt in all of this, man. This is crazy. Never thought, that it'd be such a situation. But, hey, it is. Especially after hearing Trump saying that D.C. Has the lowest crime rate it ever had, and that there was no crime in D.C. And then all of a sudden, voila, you got a crazed gunman that goes on a rampage with a 357 and shoots two National Guard members in the head, guys. You can't make this stuff up. Make sure if you subscribe to the channel that you turn your notification bell to all so you don't miss anything when I go live, because I most definitely will be bringing you everything I can find on this whole entire situation, man. So until later, y'all enjoy y'all Thanksgiving. Shout out to all of my subscribers, old ones as well as the new ones. Shout out to all of my members, and most definitely shout out to all of my moderators for keeping this chat rolling smooth, man. Like I said, double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you are new. Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Y'all be safe. I'm gone.